This is a steal for the Toronto Blue Jays as a brand new report has dropped, revealing some wild information as it pertains to a Toronto Blue Jays target. Yes, a free agent target. We're going to break that down and discuss what it means going forward, as this report is very surprising. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, as well as multiple Jays update ahead of what was supposed to be tonight's game. We have an update on that, as well as another tidbit on the disaster class that was the umpiring show yesterday. But before we get into all that, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 71%, 71% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. A ton. Let's dive right into it. There's a million things to go over. I want to start with the new report that has dropped. There's a couple different things here. So this dropped yesterday night from Jon Heyman. I was going to do a video on it. JD Martinez is hitting and staying ready while waiting for a job. No good reason. He doesn't have one yet. Now, we've covered him. I've covered him a bunch on this channel. How JD Martinez would be a perfect fit for the Blue Jays. And of course, I covered it in free agency, not as much recently. But ladies and gentlemen, there's been some rumblings and a new report now about JD Martinez returning soon. And it's very interesting that JD specifically hasn't been signed yet by an MLB team, who came off of a season where he had a very good year, a solid year. He has good peripherals, all these different things. He comes out and Jon Heyman tweets this. Now, this was followed up just minutes ago. Biggest responses, meaning the teams that have asked him and inquired the most and the teams that are most in on JD Martinez. You have Mariners 1, Reds 2, and the Jays and Tigers tied for third. So it's a very interesting one because the Jays right now are tied for third as it pertains to the, of course, I guess the JD Martinez sweepstakes. But regardless of if, Jon Heyman, he obviously has sources and the Jays are clearly in on him. This is a big sign towards the Jays potentially filling a big hole that they have on their roster. Now, there's a ton of different things to dive into as it pertains to JD Martinez and the Jays roster. One, the Jays still need a power hitting right-handed bat. There's no doubt about it. And it's kind of crazy now. They have a ton of lefties randomly, and no lefties that really hit for power aside from, Anthony Santander when he hits from the left side, but he's still yet to, tap into his power this year. But JD Martinez is interesting. You see it's here from Josh Goldberg. Think the Jays should be taking a long look at JD Martinez. Maybe he doesn't have much left, but he was still above average at the plate last year. He was in the 94th percentile in barrel and made lots of hard contact in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very, very true, right? JD Martinez, I think at this point, replacing Davis Schneider seems to be inevitable. He's not hitting the ball well. He's not a good fielder. And he's a right-handed bat off of the bench that, hits lefties, which is exactly what JD Martinez does. And given the fact that you have Miles Straw now, who's, we assume once Dalton Varsho and Eric Swanson, all these guys come back, you can assume that Nathan Lucas is probably gone. And then eventually, if you pick up a guy like JD Martinez, then Davis Schneider will be sent down to AAA or DFA or something of that nature. And you look at JD Martinez last year, it was not a great year last year. 725 OPS, like I mentioned earlier. It was still solid, though, right? He was still above average by 5%. But you think about 1 year prior when he put up an 893 OPS with the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers have fantastic protection. They are, the best team in the MLB. And back to 2023, they still were a very good team. However, even then, he's never really been a below average hitter aside from 1 year in 2020, the COVID shortened year. This is a guy that I would love to take a flyer on. He has all the peripherals in the world to back it up. He's a veteran. I would much rather, let me know down below if you prefer, a JD Martinez in the lineup platooning over a guy like Davis Schneider. Now, the problem is he can only play DH at this point in his career. You're not going to put him in the outfield. But I would just love for him to give him a shot, right? You look at his peripherals in 2024, despite the poor results, he still barrels up a ton of balls, still above average hitter in the MLB by 5%. I want to see him on the Toronto Blue Jays. He had 33 home runs 2 years ago. He hits for power, and it's exactly what the Jays need. And if you're not going to be getting anything from Davis Schneider, and when you're at the point where you're pinch hitting Miles Straw against lefties, like we saw the other night, over Davis Schneider, I love Davis Schneider. By all accounts, he's a great person, a great player at times, early in his career. Give me JD Martinez. And maybe it doesn't have to be Davis Schneider that gets sent down, even though I think it's the most obvious fit here. I think that they should go. And you look back to a couple of articles from before the season. The Toronto Blue Jays lack in high-end prospects. They make up an MLB-ready infielders. One thing that the Jays still need to do before the 2025 season begins, and again, this was before the season, there's one potential option remaining, JD Martinez, who didn't have a great season in 2024, but hit 33 home runs in 2023. It could be the team's full-time DH. Now, when you look at the lineup and stuff like that, starts to get a little bit interesting how it would actually fit with JD. I mean, you have him DH with Santander left, it makes things a little bit more complicated, but I think you just get it done. I really think at this point, and now, there's no reason that he hasn't been signed. Clearly he's holding out for something, and maybe that's why you'd have to assume the Jays have offered him some sort of deal at this point already, right? But maybe they haven't. And when you're looking at some of the strengths and weaknesses of a guy like JD Martinez, in case you're unfamiliar with the player or if you want to know, some very interesting ones. So let's start with the strengths of JD. Now, obviously, when you're looking at it from the hitting perspective, he's a great power hitter. He has elite peripherals. There's no doubt about that. He hits 33 home runs literally 2 years ago in 2023. He's a beast at the plate. Even in his down year last year, he still was 5% above league average in a time where, hitting is down across MLB. Of course, he's a free agent. No assets are required to get him. All you have to give up is cash. And in a time where the Jays' current prospect pool is very weak anyways, having a guy like JD Martinez and someone that you can get in the free agent market, that's why it's such a steal for the Jays. And ultimately, he fits exactly what this Toronto Blue Jays team needs, which is a power hitter from the right-handed side of the dish. And that's something that the Jays desperately lack. It can replace, it's a far cry from a couple of years ago when they had no lefty hitters. Now, of course, you're going to get Dalton Varsho back, who's a lefty hitter. Years ago, you didn't have lefty hitters, and now you need righty hitters. You're getting Dalton Varsho back, who is still a left-handed hitter. Give me, JD Martinez. Now, on the flip side, a couple weaknesses and, cons against this. Let me know down below what your pros and cons of this player are. He's purely a DH. He's not going to be playing the field, which clogs up things a little bit as it pertains to Santander in the outfield and things like that. And you would have a clear roster spot to get him. Now, whether that's Nathan Lucas or that's David Schneider, got to get him on the 26-man, clear 40-man roster spot. Someone's going to have to go. And I think ultimately, I don't think it's a big deal. I would much prefer a guy like JD Martinez over some of the guys they're running out right now, just simply because of the way that this team is currently constructed. I think their offense is going to come around. I think Anthony Santander, Bichette, all these guys, Vladdy, of course, are going to come around. But it's at the point now where you're not getting power from the top end. And you have it's a very rare time where you have a free agent who hit very well last year, or very well in 2023 and okay last year, available as a free agent. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Now, a couple other things before what was supposed to be tonight's game. It has been rained out. So the Blue Jays Orioles postponed due to rain tonight. Game will be made up as a doubleheader in late July. So the Jays get a off day. And I honestly think that it's a very rare time where I'm perfectly fine with this rain delay. The Jays could use an off day. They're in the stretch of 13 straight games now. They're in the middle of that. To have an off day, 6 or 7 games in, whatever it is, the exact number, this is fantastic. I don't hate it at all. You kind of get to rearrange the lineups a little bit. Of course, Bowden Francis is supposed to take the bump tonight. We'll see who actually starts tomorrow. But regardless of that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't hate it. Now, the unfortunate news is we don't get baseball on Friday night. The Jays play tomorrow, I believe, 4:05 Eastern time. And again, today was supposed to be Bowden Francis. Maybe he gets pushed to tomorrow, and then you have Berríos Sunday, and then Easton Lucas on Monday. Regardless of that, no baseball game tonight, but get the boys some rest, and this is good because George Springer gets some rest. Vladdy gets some more rest following, off day yesterday. Came in as a pinch hitter, and the rotation has been so good. 2025 Chris Bassett, unbelievable. Just want to give a quick shout out to him. The bullpen has been so good, and it's been used a fair amount, but not too much because of how good the starting pitchers have been. Everyone is going to be healthy now for the stretch against the Orioles as then you head back home against the Braves. So I think it works out well. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. And also, of course, let me know down below what your thoughts are on the JD Martinez signing if they're able to get it done. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.